Hello there and welcome to Legally Speaking. Tonight, we're talking about the ballooning wage bill in the country. Now, from the 15th to 17th of April this year, the third wage bill conference is going to be held at the Bomas of Kenya here in Nairobi, seeking to address the wage bill that is high in a country that 43% of its revenue is used to pay salaries for public servants. And in light of that, tonight in studio, I am speaking to Kisinji Kiragu, Chair, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Karibu.
Thank you very much.
It's a long word. Intergovernmental Relations Technical
His Excellency the
Committee.
President has directed us, and we are waiting for a bill to go through Parliament.
Right.
To make it shorter.
To make it shorter.
Yes.
Yeah, but at least I've looked at it hard enough.
Yes.
Now I can say it.
can see it.
Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Right.
Yes.
And it is an agency that many people not very familiar
Correct.
with many. But it came during the time of devolution.
Yes, it was established through an act of Parliament done in 2012 to facilitate the implementation of several parts of the Constitution, including the Article 6.1 of the Constitution, which talks about the two levels of government
Right.
being distinct but interdependent. It talks to the Article 189 of the Constitution, which says the two levels of government should work in consultation, in cooperation and coordination.
Right.
It talks to Article 187 of the Constitution in terms of how the two levels of government, notwithstanding that there has been a delineation of functions between the two under Schedule 4 of the Constitution, they should keep looking for opportunities
Right.
of working together. And that in doing so, the Constitution provides them how this can happen. So, and therefore, IGRTC, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, exists to promote that relationship.
Right.
That relationship, not just in terms of wants, but in terms of service delivery between the national government, ministries, departments, and agencies, and the county governments.
Right. And now, we're talking about the wage bill.
Yes.
And of course, now with the two levels of government,
Yes.
then there's an increase of public servants
Yes.
across the country. So
Yes.
ahead of the third wage bill conference,
Yes.
the mandate of the IGRTC,
Yes.
what exactly is it going to be?
Okay. As you know, the Constitution gives them responsibility for managing the national wage bill and therefore the compensation of public servants in all areas to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. But this issue about the wage bill needs to be handled by both levels of government.
Right.
It is, you can say, in terms of statistics, it looks more serious in the county governments than the national government. But more importantly, it's an issue which needs to be handled by both levels of government. And because both levels of government need to be together, that's why IGRTC is partnering with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
Right.
To organize a conference. Mm-hmm. But the second reason is that this conference is a result of a resolution agreed between His Excellency the President, William Samoei RUTO, and all the 47 county governors.
Right.
That this is an issue which needs of national strategic interest, needs both levels of government to be involved. And for that reason, therefore, IGRTC as a technical secretariat of the summit, that the summit is where the President, His Excellency the President, meets with the governors.
Right.
So we are the people who will keep monitoring what is happening. So we are with the SRC to make sure that the resolution of the summit is carried out and thereafter to monitor the implementation of the same.
Right.
And we also know that the implementation of the decisions which will be made at the conference, because that conference is not about talking. It's about agreeing between the two levels of government and all the agencies of national and county governments what each one of them is going to do to help address this national challenge. And the IGRTC will be responsible for monitoring what is happening and reporting to the summit of the national and county government leaders. That is His Excellency the President, right, and the 47 county governors.
And there was the first wage bill conference, the second, this is the third,
yes,
wage bill conference. So are there any strides that have been made between the second one and the third one that is set to begin on 15th?
Yes, when the first National Wage Bill Conference was done in 2014, it was clear, first of all, we were spending 9% of our annual economic capacity, what we call the GDP, gross domestic product. That's our total wealth creation in a year. We were using it on wage bill. Today, it may now sound much, but it's actually very considerable. Because since that time also, from 2014 to now, the GDP has grown almost 3 times. But the actual size of the wage bill is about 7.8% of the gross domestic product. GDP, yeah. But we have not reached the benchmark, the standard, which we would like to associate with as an emerging middle income country.
Right. And the SRC has said that one of the reasons why the wage bill is ballooning is because of duplicate roles,
yes,
within the public servants offices.
Yes.
And so then how can that be dealt with, given that from within the counties, we've seen different governors trying to crack down on ghost workers within governmental offices, county government offices. So, resolution, what exactly?
Okay, first of all, let me also just add that actually, okay, we cannot actually say, from where I stand, we cannot say the wage bill is ballooning, but we have agreed it is high. Okay. Are we together?
Okay.
And it is high, but it would be more chaotic, it would be a crisis, just like the debt crisis. The wage bill would be a more serious problem than maybe the debt crisis if we hadn't gotten SRC and the decisions made in the previous wage bill conferences implemented. It would be much worse. Let me put it for us to agree and to have the perspective. The wage bill is big because also our public sector labor force, the people who deliver service to Kenyans, are many.
Right.
The teachers are more than 300,000. The police is more than 100,000. Now, let me not talk about others. But remember also all those parastatals you see and so on, and all those employees in all the 47 county governments. So our labor force is big.
Right.
But it is still not enough. You know, we definitely need maybe an extra 60,000 employees to work in the county hospitals, dispensary, the county health services. We probably need another 100,000 teachers if we are going to have the numbers of teachers that we want. Right. If tomorrow we were to hire those ones, okay, then definitely we will not service our international debt. And actually, we will not also be in a position maybe even to pay the teacher, all those employees in good time. So the wage bill is big, but I think we can say, and from where I stand, and with an international perspective, because I worked on this issue, even before as a consultant to SRC, we done quite well, actually. given everything,
Right.
we have done quite well, I think, but there is more to be done, and that more which also needs to be done, which is the theme of this particular conference, is because we are using so much of this money, because we have such a large workforce,
Right.
for the sake of the country's economy, we need these people, that wage bill money, to give value to Kenyans, which is where we are talking about the issue of productivity.
Right.
That if you are paying for people to work, they better work as hard as I like you to think you work. Are we together?
Yes.
Because we are in the private sector. Are we together?
Yes.
Then that way we know that the money we are spending, because it's a lot of money, the wage bill is the largest item in the budget, not just for Kenya, but for almost virtually every government. But what is very important is that that money is used productively. The employees in the county governments, we want them to deliver service to Kenyans. The employees in the national government, we want them to deliver service to Kenyans. If they can do a good job of serving Kenyans, then their productivity, not a situation where people hang coats in their offices, okay, and then they go to do their own things.
Right.
Not where people use all kinds of excuses not to be in the office.
So who will hold these people accountable?
Oh, that is part of the issue of the conference. It is about discipline. And you'll hear a discussion about public service discipline in terms of culture of the public service in the conference. It will be discussed.
Right.
One of the themes, it is not called discipline, but when we will start discussing about productivity and public service culture, it will touch on the issues to do with the discipline in the public service.
Right.
And therefore, and the seriousness with which they work and so forth.
Okay, and you talked about employment opportunities, because you said we need even more people.
Yes.
But now, is there a dilemma there when we talked about increasing employment opportunities and reducing the wage bill? Can that work?
It will. You know, we will not reduce the wage bill in terms of its current size. Are we together? In fact, we expect in terms of the actual total amount of money, we expect the wage bill to continue to grow, as has been happening even in the other years. But when you remember, I said from an economic point of view, we are happy because the wage bill share of our wealth creation in a year has gone down. But because our wealth has gone up, although although our wage bill overall in terms of shillings has gone up, it has taken a smaller slice of our wealth created in a year, which has meant that we have left money for use in other service, for use in investment or to do something else. Therefore, there will be that situation where it is a balancing act, okay?
Right.
It's a balancing act that if we try to employ all those 100,000 teachers, all those health workers that we need, then we are even running the risk of making worse our current fiscal, what we call fiscal distress, fiscal constraint, fiscal problem. Right. Therefore, we would even be running the risk either of even not paying those employees, and you know what would happen if we don't pay them. We would have chaos. So even what we would be spending on them would not be there. But also the risk that then there is no money. For example, therefore you have doctors, but there is no medicine. Are we together? Right. Therefore it is a balancing act which has to be done. Okay. And it is not unique to Kenya. That is what at least all governments which do not have a lot of money. Right. Especially those economies which are not independent on minerals like Kenya's and so on. I would say the year Kenya has done very well in this regard.
And in the summit, I saw you talk about transferring of functions.
Yes.
Would that perhaps help? Transferring of functions maybe across the
yes.
governments?
One of the things we would like to do is we want to be sure that our functions. You have said we want to make sure that people are productive.
Right.
Okay? We don't want for example, if you have got money to do health service delivery, and you are the head office, But because that service you would like to provide, for which you have been given a budget, can only be performed in a county, because it's a devolved function.
Right.
It means that you are sitting there with some money, you might find a way of using it, but actually it is not being productive. Therefore, your productivity is low. Therefore, we need to transfer to be clear that at the national level, only those functions which are not supposed to be done by county governments are being done there.
Right.
And the functions which should go to county governments are being done in the counties. So that the counties people are properly busy. And the people in the national government are also properly busy. Therefore, it is an important part of it to transfer, to make sure that everything which the Constitution says should be done by county governments is being done by county governments. Right. Where a county government is not able to do something, they can enter into an agreement with the national government. But if it is a partnership, if there is already agreement between the two, then they know how best to use the resources that they have. But if it is things being done by the national government because there hasn't been that conversation, that an agreement who does what, each one of them is trying to do it, but none of them is doing it the best way that is productive to the country.
Right, and now the mandate of the IGRTC, trying to better the relations between the two levels of government.
Right.
And there have been differences in the past between the two levels of government.
Yes.
Other people even talking about, do we need devolution?
Okay, that's right.
What strides would you say now IGRTC has made in terms of bringing the two levels of government together?
As I've said, for example, these national conferences and the session of the two, we had the last national and county governments coordinating summit presided by His Excellency the President at the State House on December 18th. And we were there the whole day, national government and county governments talking together and agreeing the important things for the country. Even those which you hear them sometimes disagree now. For example, I know out of it was, the governors were indicating they are not happy with how much money they have been allocated. And it was agreed the conversation goes beyond there because they could not be finished in that particular meeting. Right. But they discussed a lot of other things of how they are going to cooperate in terms of universal health care, the whole agenda of community health promoters, the whole agenda about the establishment of county integrated county agriculture and industrial parks, the whole issue about planting trees for soil conservation, and so all those things were actually part of the whole issue about fertilizer, however it is going on and so forth. So those things are happening. The only thing which we can say for me is that we can do better, and I think everybody agrees we can do better. And I think we did not get devolution by chance. What's the challenge in front of all Kenyans, and especially those with responsibility, including even the media, is to work together to make sure that this system works better than it is working at the moment. But we are not going backwards. We can only get it to work better. Therefore, let us consolidate devolution, let us deepen it, let it deliver better to the Kenyans. But let us not have any doubts that we needed the system as provided by the Constitution of 2010. But also those of you who are young Kenyans who may not know where we have come from. So you see the problems now, and you think, oh, this is hell. But we were in worse hell before. So let us not be discouraged by that. And I would say that there's every reason for Kenyans to be optimistic that this system will do well to get Kenyans moving faster in socio-economic transformation.
The delivery of services.
Yes.
So the theme for the conference, Fiscal Sustainability of the Public Wage Bill through Productivity.
Yes.
And this is what you have already mentioned.
Correct.
That now the labor productivity,
yes,
is what needs to be seen mostly. And you also mentioned that the wage bill doesn't have to come down.
No, in that, what we call money terms, in aggregate terms, the wage bill, it cannot come down because we are not sacking people. We need to employ more people, and we are not reducing their salaries, so it will not come down.
But when we talk about then transferring of functions,
yes,
can that help with at least the revenue doesn't have to be spent so much on paying salaries?
What I would say is that, first of all, it's not like a country that our public service has more people than we need, but it is just that, you know, if they are there, let us know those who are idle.
Okay.
If they are in the ministries, they can be retrained. See, these are people who have been educated, and they have got certain things. Now maybe they are just there hanging coats instead of working. Are we together? But they can probably do a much better job somewhere else in our public sector. So there is no question of people losing jobs and so on. Well, we can even take the example recently, for example, in terms of those transfer of functions, we have transferred librarians and museum staff,
right,
okay, and they have also their wage bills to the counties. What we expect is that those people now are going to give a new impetus, okay, to the development of library services in the county governments. Are we together?
Right.
Because it's also true, for example, you know, since independence, even 14 county governments have never received a library service. Are we together? But now every county knows that that is their service. And we are trying to see whether the national government can, in due course, give those without libraries some, you know, some boosts, right, so that they can do it. But nobody can stop doing it now because everybody knows now that is their function. Not many counties and museums, because you know, the functions were at the center. Now those without museums know they have a responsibility to develop their museums. Right. Are we together? But also, the officers who we have sent out there now to the counties, we expect them to be much more productive because they can be better facilitated at the local level in, right, terms of delivering services to the people. So
it's about what you do and how you do it.
Correct, yes.
By function.
Correct.
Okay, so, and who are the stakeholders that are going to be present at the third wage bill conference?
Okay, the third wage bill conference will be attended by participants by invitation.
Right.
So you don't, you know, we are not expecting people who have not been invited. Okay. And it is not based on discrimination. Obviously, we have a lot of officers from the county governments who will attend that, okay, conference and have been invited to attend. We have officers from national government, ministries, departments, and agencies who will also attend, again, selectively. Because, you know, again, as I say, you know, the public servants are moving towards a billion. Right. So you can see they are also going to attend by representation. We are going to have the media people there. We have got people from the academia, you know, the universities and so on, will also be represented there. We will have representatives of workers through their trade unions. We will have representatives from which group have I not mentioned? From private sector, because also they are stakeholders, yeah, in this whole process. So those are the people who will come, and therefore they have been chosen by their categories, and they will be, therefore, all let's say all sections of the Kenyan community, right, will be represented, you know, farmers groups, you know, and so on. Everybody will be presented, right, because there are different facets of this and we want to hear the perspectives from all these different people, that if we do this, because there will be papers presented by technical specialists or by organizations like IGRTC and SRC, and we will be making recommendations, and they will be telling us, no, if you do that, if you take that path, this will go well or this will go bad. So we want to hear all those different voices, and therefore it will be a rainbow it will be a rainbow congregation.
Conference, okay.
Yes.
And you know, what most Kenyans really want to know is accountability.
Yes.
Are people going to be accountable? See, that's what every Kenyan needs to know, that if then they paid their taxes, money has been collected, the revenue has been collected, so when it's paid to public servants, they want to see the services, and the services delivered then in a prompt way and effectively. So then, can you say that the conference is going to enable Kenyans to see that?
Yes, that is at the center of the conversation. That for the productivity of Kenyans to improve, the public servants must change and improve in their culture, in the way they serve Kenyans, how they handle them,
right.
In terms of also their own discipline, being available at the place of work. There is no greater accountability of an employee than to be at the place of work and to be productive at the place of work.
Right.
Therefore, accountability is at the center of it. And for those who are responsible for them to ensure that that is happening. So it is going to be, that is at the core of productivity, that is at the core of the conversation, which is going to be, conducted at the Wage Bill Conference.
Right, and thank you so much. You know, we could say more, but time is up. But I appreciate you for being part of this conversation and just for us to let the people know about the Wage Bill Conference, because it concerns us.
Yes.
Right, that is Chair of the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, Kithinji Kiragu. And here on Legally Speaking, we have been talking about the wage bill, which he says is not ballooning, but it's high. And of course, the conference seeking to see how to work around it and how to improve productivity at the different levels of government and of course among the public servants. I am Nancy Nalima. Thank you so much for watching. Let's keep the conversation going across all our social media platforms where we are at Lookuptv on Facebook, Lookuptv on X, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel. Our sign language interpreter for tonight has been Felista Adundo. We appreciate you for watching. Have a lovely night.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893